So I thought I'd do a video and speculate on where prices might reach towards the end of this cycle, um, and maybe give you some different time horizons to look out for, and yeah, just give you some general market overview where I think the market might be headed. So essentially, I am in the camp thinking that Bitcoin will give somewhat definitely diminished returns, and for cycles taking longer and lengthening out, which makes total sense to me because as an asset like this matures, you tend to get slightly less volatility with every couple of years, 5 years, 10 years that passes, to the point where when the market cap is actually so high, the swings will be something similar to a lot more mature assets that we have sort of these days, like in the stock market and gold and stuff like that. So the way that I'm looking at this is potentially, if you look at, say, like the last couple of cycles, okay, we have actually ended up getting basically drawdowns of around 80 to 90%, okay, and then you also look at the time horizon from market cycle bottom to top, and you can see actually quite a clear pattern, right? So what you do see is that market cycles tend to, one, take longer from bottom to top and from top to top, okay? And then also you tend to find that the bear markets actually take, maybe they're getting slightly diminished with price. So we've got basically the first cycle over here. We've got like a 93% downturn, then 86, then 84, and maybe you might speculate wherever the next market cycle peak might be. Then I would expect maybe something like an 80 to 85%, but you never know, right? There's no such thing as anything's like set in stone. So we can see that pattern kind of playing out, okay? And then what we also know is, I'm not taking any data, by the way, from 2011 prior, because the data is too choppy. It doesn't really look very clear, and there's just sort of like these crazy wicks. So I think the best place to actually start from is really the top and the bottom of the 2011 cycle. So if you start from that cycle, you get basically a three from top to top. Okay, you get a 3,500% move. Okay, and from bottom to top, you get basically a 61,000% move, which is actually pretty nuts, right? So next cycle, we get basically about a 1,500% move to the next cycle. So from 13 up to 17, and essentially you're going to get, we got a 11,300% move from bottom all the way to the top, which is essentially around about 100x. Okay, so I would contend that we would probably speculate that we would get less than 1,500%. Okay, from market cycle top to top. Okay, and I would suggest and probably say, given the sort of decrease from market cycle over here in 2011 to the market cycle in 2013-14, I would suggest maybe somewhere between, I don't know, 700 to 1,000%. So where would that actually put us if you actually think about it? Okay, 700% would put us at about, okay, $150,000 Bitcoin. Okay, give or take. Okay, give or take. At which point I would definitely be looking to take profits, especially if you managed to, if you were someone who'd got in 2017 or to 2020 and you're holding, that's really the price target that I would be looking out for. Okay, on the macro scale, where does 1,000% put us? It puts us at about a $220,000 Bitcoin, which I would suggest is plausible and a place that we could actually reach, but I just don't think we get anything like a 1,500% move, which would put it at about 320k. I think that is out of the realms for this cycle. Even if price kind of like extends out quite a bit, I just don't think that the returns will be the same as the last cycle. Okay, so that's sort of how I would be looking at it. And then if you look at, again, from bottom to top, where would even 11,000% put us? Okay, it would put us again at about the $320,000, $350,000 Bitcoin. That would be for me like the absolute upper end of where we could ever reach. And I think if we ever did get there, it would be probably somewhere that would actually occur within a brief moment in time, rather than you know, somewhere we're going to hang out and chill, and it'll be something like, you know, over here, this euphoric stage in 17 and 30. And I think that's that. But I don't think we get there this cycle. I really do think that the most likely option is somewhere, in my opinion, between about 130, 140 to about 200k Bitcoin. If you get out anywhere around there, even if it was to go up to 320k, 400k, for me that would be completely job done, right? Because remember, the hardest gains to squeeze are the initial ones, and with every move up it becomes harder and harder to double in price, okay? So yeah, so that's basically sort of what I'd be looking out for, somewhere in this box here. And then again, if you look at, if we can have a price target of somewhere around 150 to 220, okay, can we find any other confluence there, just on an absolute massive macro scale, okay? If we take this trend line just up here, okay, then you can actually see that a $320,000 Bitcoin would actually put us at about somewhere around here by about January 22. I don't think that the market has got the legs to move up that fast, that quickly, in that kind of time frame. Okay, so I would, my base case would be to actually move up in a slower fashion than we have in the last two cycles. Okay, and then reach somewhere in that price target. Okay. And then again, if we look at actually the amount of days that it actually takes to complete a market cycle from bottom to top, okay, from bottom to top, and then from bottom to bottom, okay, you also see some sort of diminished effect between market cycles. So if we maybe just suggest that this is going to take somewhat longer at both, that could probably put us at about, I would say, somewhere between possibly end of Q1 to end of Q2 in 22. I would suggest that the market cycle top, it's something to look out for, right? It's 22, especially if prices start to go quite parabolic, or we get some sort of insane moves, which we likely will at some point, because that's basically how Bitcoin tends to move. It moves up quickly, and it can move back down very quickly. But I'd be looking out for that. Okay, yeah, somewhere around there. What I would say is probably the more likely is if you take this trend line in up here, that puts us in and around. Okay, again, this is obviously like pure speculation, right? But it gives you something to look out for and something to aim for, okay? Because all of this is noise, all of this, all these swings up and down and whatnot. But again, that would put us somewhere in this range over here. Where does that put us? Maybe somewhere around summer, April, May 22, okay? Maybe early, some point next year in Q1, Q2, maybe Q3. And then that would be, for me, completely job done. Think about it. $250,000 Bitcoin, right? Even if it went to $500,000 Bitcoin, at that point, you'd just be like, there's no point. I wouldn't even want to be hanging around for that last 100%. I'd sort of say good luck to everyone who's still in. All these buyers down here who bought, there's going to be immense selling pressure. So that's something basically that I would be looking out for, okay? And then again, if we can sort of speculate about the sort of drawdowns, okay? So, you know, a drawdown from about, we'll say, $180,000, $150,000, that basically puts us, and you know, somewhere in the 30k range, okay? So I do think that the next market cycle bottom will likely be some place between now and 30k. I think, I'm not sure if we ever get down here. I mean, you know, we're now sort of speculating and looking at prices and stuff too far into the future when we don't even know where the next market cycle top is, because I certainly didn't think that this was the top. But you know, if we move somewhere up here and we get to somewhere between 150 to 220, that would put us at about 35, 31k with a drawdown of about 75 to 80%. Okay, if we had a drawdown from about 320, that would put an 80% drawdown at about current prices at about $60,000. $63,000, but like I said, I'm not sure we actually get that way. And this and the next bear cycle will, I would suggest as well, probably kind of get longer and lengthen as well. Because if you look at both market cycles here, I do think that the next bear market, when we actually reach there to that point, that we will probably, there's a good chance that will also be longer sort of cycle. So but that's kind of another topic for another video. So yeah, just some price targets to look out for. I think basically 320, a 300k BTC is too high for this market cycle. I don't think we reach there. Maybe we do something like this. We sort of mess around and then we just basically make one big run. And when we make that big run, remember, there's going to be points along the way. I bet that when you think it's the market cycle top, okay, it probably won't be. So if we just get this one massive push, I guarantee that there's like the market will make you think that that's the end, and then it'll just keep pushing higher, pushing higher. That's typically how it always goes, right? If you look at all of these sort of sub peaks over here, okay, there's going to be corrections along the way, probably of about 20-30% for sure, I would imagine. But I would also be looking out for these sort of moves here where we sort of move down, we think, okay, maybe that's the top at 3,000k, big push up to 5, maybe that was the top, no. Or you move up to about 8k, no. And then it just basically just absolutely shot up. And when you get something like this, some sort of like doubling in price in the space of like, a month, right, that's the time to basically get out. You don't want to be buying anything in that vicinity over there. So yeah, and that's basically what I'd be looking out for. But you have to be open to all possibilities as well, because Bitcoin could just basically moonshot up, okay, and basically just finish in that sort of manner. But like I said, if any sort of fast move into about 150, 200k, I'd be sort of looking at maybe potentially exiting the market, parking my money elsewhere. And yeah, like I said, I think fundamentally everything's sort of looking sound, and all the info and stuff from Glassnode and on-chain metrics look pretty bullish. I don't think we're anywhere sort of, for me, nearer a market cycle top. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I'd be looking out for. I'd say, to be honest, anywhere between 100. If you've actually been holding since here and you've made it to like 100 to 150k, I'd say big clap for you. Well done, job done, because not many people can actually hold through all of this volatility without taking profits. So yeah, so that's pretty much what I'd be looking at. So be looking out for potentially lengthened cycles from top to top, bottom to bottom, and diminished returns. And like I said, I don't think that this market cycle would give us a bigger return than 15-50%, and that would put it in the range of about 150 to about 220k. And even if we did reach there, I think it would be for a brief moment in time. So that's what I'll be looking out for. Hope you enjoyed the video and you took something away from this, and it gives you something to look out for moving forward. Peace out.